Okay, so on this page, I'm going to show you how to do substitution. So you want to kind of go through and write down what I'm showing you here. The first thing that you do is you have two equations. You look for one that's solved for a variable. So notice this is y equals 3x minus 9. It's already been solved for y. That's a good thing. You like it when that happens. So what you want to do is just write that down. Just write that down over at the side here. And then we're going to write down the top equation, but I want you to write down the top equation like this. Write down 2x plus big parenthesis equals 11. We call it substitution because we plug in one equation to the other. So what you're going to do is this is what y is, so that's going to plug in there. See, the original equation is 2x plus y equals 11. You want to go ahead and put 3x minus 9 in there. So you plug it in. That's why we call it the substitution method. Okay, so you're really just taking this and plugging it in there. Does everybody understand what I just did? Okay, that's why we call it substitution. Now, here's what I want you to do. You guys can do this pretty easily by now, I think. We're going to solve this equation. It has like terms, so 2x plus 3x is 5x. Then we have minus 9 equals 11 like that. Oops, I put an extra mark there, so it's equal to 11. Okay, now it's standard. What do? You get rid of the 9, you get rid of the 5, so you can add 9 to both sides. Go ahead.
Does it become 4? As far as 20?
Oh, 20, yeah, the answer will be 4, yes. Okay, yeah, that's what we're going to get. So we have 5x equals 20, then you can divide both sides by 5, so you get x equals 4. Okay, so when you write your solution, you're going to write it as a point, so we got 4. All right, so that's what you do. Does everybody understand what I just did? Okay, all right. Now, here's what we've got to do next. That's the first thing. Second thing is you got to find y. Well, the easiest way to find y is to go to this second equation because you know x is 4, right? So all you got to do is 3 times 4 minus 9, and then you got y. Okay, so to find y, we're going to go y equals 3 times 4, the answer for x, minus 9, and then that'll give that for you. So that's going to end up giving you y equals 12 minus 9, so that's y equals 3. Okay, so the answer, you want to write the answer as an intersection point like that. Now, the other thing I want you to see on these problems is most of the time, these problems are easy enough that you can check them in your head. So see if you follow this. Go to this top equation. 2 times 4 is what? 8. Plus 3 is what? 11. See what I mean? Okay, if you do that, then you understand the problem a lot better. So you can actually just see if it checks in the equation, and if it does, then you know you're on the right track. So we call it substitution because you plug one equation in the other one. The big thing that you want to make sure that you understood is that part right there. The rest of it is stuff you've done. Is there any question about that? Okay, all right, let's try another one. This one's got one more step on it. Okay, so with this one, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pick an equation. It's up to you. You pick either equation and you solve for either variable. Okay, this is a worthwhile thing to write down on your paper. And then what you want to do is you want to be smart in the way you do this, okay? The problems that you're going to do in this level of a class are going to be, they're not going to be that complicated. So let me ask you a question. If you picked the top equation, which would be easier to solve for, x or y? Well, how come the y? Because there isn't anything in front of it, right? How about the second equation? Well, if you solve for y, it's more complicated. That's the thing to do is try to find a variable that has nothing in front of it. If you find it, that's the one you want to pick. You see what I mean? Because if not, you're going to have fractions all over the place, and you want to avoid that. So what we're going to do in step 1 is let's just write down the top equation, negative 3x plus y equals 1, and then just get y by itself. So you can do that in your head. That would give y equals positive 3x plus 1. Be sure you change the sign when you do that. Okay? What's that? Yeah. Oh, that's...
No, I'm just saying, like, can it be 1 plus...
Oh, yeah, it can be backwards. That doesn't make any difference. That's up to you. And I see why you would ask that, too. All right, step 2 is you're going to plug in. So write down the second equation, but have a set of parentheses where y is. So you're going to say 4 parentheses minus 12x equals 3. So here's the key step. What goes in here? Whatever y is. What's y? 3x plus 1. See, that's y, so it goes in there. So again, you're taking 4 times that minus 12x equals 3. So you're plugging one equation into the other equation. Once you get that together and get that down, then the rest of the problem's not hard to finish. Guys, everybody okay? Sometimes substitution, the first time students see it, they just don't see it. I'm plugging one thing into another thing. This thing right here goes there. That's what happens. All right? What's that?
Alpha 4 equals 3. After you solve that.
Are you already done? I'm not sure what you're asking there.
Yeah, so when you solve that, okay, I'll just wait.
Are you talking up on the problem I just did?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no.
Like 4 equals 30, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you mean 4 equals 3?
So it's when you factor that 4x or the 4 times 3x is 12x plus 4 minus 12x equals 3. But 12x is canceled.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm not there yet. Okay, I was just trying to see if you were following what I did so far. I'll show you what happens because I know why you're asking that question. That's a great question. Okay, now I understand. All right, let's finish it up. So now we have 12x plus 4 minus 12x equals 3. Okay, yeah, okay, that's a good point. You got 4 equals 3. What happened? The variables canceled out. What do you know about the statement 4 equals 3? True or false? False. You actually like it when this happens, because if you get a false statement, that means the answer is no solution. A system of equations does not have to have a solution. That's the way it works, okay? So that's cool. That's the easiest problem there is. If that happens, it just means it's impossible to find an x and y that work in both the equations at the same time. It has a certain meaning. Now, what we talked about in the last class, before I move on from here, remember on Tuesday's class, when did we get no solution? Because we did it by graphing. What happened? They were parallel. Because what you're doing is you're looking for where they intersect. So the purpose of this that we're going to see in economics is we're going to look at intersection points, like for break-even points and so forth. So if they're parallel, there's no solution. So what would happen on this problem is if you graphed it, they'd be parallel. All right, you can make a note of that if you want to, but that's the idea. So now I see why you're asking that, okay? Very good. That's fine. You're just moving ahead of me a little bit. That's good. Everybody okay with what I just did? Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and I'll let you try this one. This one's not too hard to do. Always look for, I've already solved something for y. If I've done that, I've already done the first step for you. So just see if you can get that done now, okay? And then what you want to do is once you get your answer, plug it into both equations, at least in your head, and see if you're right. You want to have confidence when you're learning how to do these problems, you're getting them right. That's the key.
Can you also just solve for x and then solve for y?
Well, there's more than one way to do that. I mean, you could, to me, the easiest way to do this, the top equation's already solved for y, so plug it into the y of the second equation. There's many ways to solve that. I wouldn't do it any other way. If you see it's already solved for y, that's the way to go. Yeah.
I got x is 1 and y is 4.
Did anybody else get 1 and 4? You made one little, I think I know where you made your mistake too. All right, so here's what you want to do. This thing right here is y, so it plugs into the y of the second equation. You made an arithmetic mistake, that's all you did. So it goes like that, all right? Okay, so then what we'd have here is that would be 2x plus 3 equals negative 5. Now subtract 3 from both sides. I think you missed your negative. I think that's all you did. Okay, so you're going to have this, divide by 2, so x is negative 4. You said 4, that's all you did. And that, of course, affects the other part of the answer then. Okay, Now, what do you do to find y? Well, the easiest way to find y is just take that and plug it into that top equation. So you'd have y equals negative 4 plus 3. Therefore, y is negative 1. So that's your answer. Okay? All right, how many people got it? Okay? That's all you do. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to look at substitution. You're not going to probably do that too often, but you'll do it sometimes. Particularly if something's already solved for a variable, that's a real easy way to solve your system, okay? So that's how that goes. All right, now next time I'll show you is elimination. This is what you do most of the time. We're going to do this in this class most of the time, and then we're going to start learning how to do what's called a matrix, where you can do this with a computer, okay? All right, so here's what we do on this. The first thing is I'm going to start real simple. With this example, I want you to just write down the system. You need to write it down underneath that answer blank exactly the way it is. Then I'll take you through the methodology of doing this. Okay, the idea, we call it elimination. I think your textbook calls it addition. I prefer elimination, but all they're saying is you want to just add the equations together. And what you want is when you add them together, you want something to eliminate. So like what would happen if you did 2x minus 2x? It'd eliminate, right? That's what you want. So what we're going to do is just draw a line underneath that and add. And just do this in your head. That's gone. 3y plus y is 4y. 20 plus 4 is 24. Okay, so what's y in your head? 6. Good. So you divide both sides by 4, so you get y equals 6. Okay, remember we write the answer as a point, so that y value would be 6. Well, what you got to do now is you got to find x. Okay, so when you find x, you pick either equation. It's totally up to you. Pick an equation. Now you know y is 6, so just plug it in. So what I'm going to do, and it doesn't matter which equation you pick, is I'm going to just take the top equation, which is 2x plus 3y equals 20, and then I'm going to plug the 6 in. Okay? And then once you do that, you'll be able to get y. You can use the other one too. Yeah. You okay? Okay, so we'll just have 2x plus 3 times 6 equals 20. Okay, and then that will be 2x plus 18 equals 20. Now you're going to subtract 18 from both sides. And I think that gives you what? 2x equals 2. So what's x? What? 1. Okay, so x is 1. All right. So once you get one answer, you go get the other answer by picking an equation, see. All right. So your answer to that would be x would be 1, y would be 6. Now try to do this when you're doing your homework. Try to do this in your head. What's 2 times 1? 2. What's 3 times 6? 18. Is that right? 2 plus 18 is 20. See, that doesn't take any time, and that way it proves that you're right. That's what you want to do. Okay? That's important. All right, you guys understand what I did? Tell me, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay? Add the equation in such a way that one of the variables eliminates. Okay? That one's probably the simplest example that I can show you. Okay, let's go ahead and go to this next one. So let's write down the x plus y equals 10, x plus y equals 6. Okay, now what happens in this particular problem is if you added, you don't have to write this down, I want to just show you this. If you added, you would have 2x plus 2y equals 16. You don't want that to happen, nothing eliminated, that's bad. You want to make something eliminate. So the way you want to do this is like this. Okay, let's just say that you want x to eliminate. If you want x to eliminate, you would want that to stay positive. What would you want that to become? Negative. Right. Okay? So the way that you make that become negative is you multiply everything by -1. That's what you do. So what you need to do is figure out how to eliminate a variable. So what we're going to do, this is what I want you to write down, is we're going to multiply the second equation by -1. Okay, like that. And when we do this, it's a good idea to keep writing your system. Don't write sloppy all over your paper. You want to keep track of what you're doing. So I just rewrite the first equation. The second equation is now going to be -x minus y equals negative 6. Okay? Now, what happens when you add together? What does the left side become? 0, exactly. Both things cancel. That's not what we intended, but it's okay. And then the right side is 4. What's the answer to this problem? Therefore, there's no solution. See, that's a false statement. Hey, you like it when that happens. It's less work. So anytime you get a false statement and your variables cancel out, that's how that goes. All right? Do you guys understand why I multiplied the second equation by negative 1? The goal was to get things to eliminate. Yes?
So, I mean, I was thinking there was going to be no solution from the beginning just because you can look at it, but anytime you look at it where it's the same exact equation with different answers, is that automatically going to be a no solution issue?
Be careful. Be careful. But you're recognizing something that's good to recognize. If the left side's the same and the right side's different, it would have to be no solution because of what I just showed you that happened. That's a good observation to see, though. Okay? All right, let's go to the next page. Okay, now these will get a little bit more complicated. Not too much, though. Okay? So here's what you do as a student. If you added this together, would anything eliminate if you just started off by adding? No, you'd have 5x minus y. You don't want that. So let's say we want the x's to eliminate. If that's a 4, what would you like that right there to be? A negative 4. There you go. So what you're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just multiply everything in that second equation by negative 4. That's the first thing, is you got to figure out what you want to eliminate and how to make it happen. So start by writing down the first equation. And now just multiply everything by negative 4. Do that in your head. That's going to be negative 4x minus 8y. And let's see, what is that, 56? Negative 56, I think is what that is. Use your calculator if you need to. Now, if you add it, the x's eliminate. That's what you were hoping would happen. So we have negative 11y. And what is that? Negative 44 is what that is, right? Okay, what do you do now? 5 by negative 11. Okay, so what we accomplished is we now got y is 4. Okay, so we got what y is. All right, you guys understand what I did and why I did it? Yeah, tell me. Thumbs up, thumbs down, give me a sign. Thank you. Okay, now where do I go to find x? Pick an equation and plug in. It doesn't matter which equation you pick. I'm going to pick the second equation. But if you want to pick the top one, go for it. I don't care. You'll get the same answer. So that means that the y is 4, so that plugs in. So we'll have x plus 2 times 4 equals 14. Now it's easy to solve. So now you have x plus 8 equals 14. Subtract 8 from both sides. So it looks like x is equal to 6. Okay, so what we ended up getting is got the y first, then the x. And then you write that as an intersection point. The meaning of that problem is if you graphed both of those lines, that's where it would intersect. Okay? Does that look good or bad? Mostly it's arithmetic. Mostly everything I did on that's arithmetic. Okay? All right. So let's see what we can come up with on this next one here. All right. Now it's your choice as to how you do this. If you added, what would you get? 8x minus y equals 6. So you got to figure out which one you want to eliminate. This is what I would do. I like to eliminate y. You can eliminate x too if you want to, but I'm going to just do y this time. That's a positive, that's a negative. So if they're going to eliminate, you want a positive and negative, right? So this time you're going to have to work with both equations. What could you make 3 and 2 become so that they're the same numbers? 6, okay? That's a least common multiplier, like a common denominator. You can make that become 6. You can make that become 6. How do you make that become 6? Multiply by 2. How do you make that become 6? Multiply by 3. There you go. I picked that because of the plus and minus. So that's what you have to do. That's the whole key to the problem, is figuring that out. So what you want to write on your paper is we want to multiply the top equation by 2, and we want to multiply the bottom equation by 3. If you do it wrong, you're going to find out. You'll find out you're messing up. So what I'm going to do from here is I'll do a distributive property. So that's 10x minus 6y equals negative 2. And then I'll have 9x plus 6y equals 21. See, the y's eliminate, so it's going to work the way I hope it works. All right, so that cancels out. That looks like 19x equals 19, so what's x in your head? 1, good, okay. All right, so we got x is 1, so we've accomplished that part. Okay, now when you find the other variable, it's always the same. Pick an equation and plug in the x into that one. Okay, I'm going to pick the second equation. It does not matter. The reason I would pick the second equation is because it doesn't have any negatives in it. Negatives usually, there's more room for error is the way I look at it. So I just plug the x in here. So I have 3 times 1 plus 2y equals 7. So that would be 3 plus 2y equals 7. Now just solve that equation. Subtract 3 from both sides. And that's going to give 2y equals 4. So what's y? Y is 2. Okay, so there's your answer. Okay, that's called elimination. The textbook calls this addition. It's the same idea. All right, and again, you can always check your answer and see if you're right. You just plug into both equations and see if it works. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's see. Let's do 2 problems. I'm going to give you a little time to do these 2 problems. I'll walk around in 2 and kind of see how you're doing and see if you're on the right track and give a little help if you need some help. First thing is to decide what you're going to eliminate and how you're going to do it. There's more than one way to do it. There's usually one way is a little easier than the other, though. And when you get an answer, just plug it in. Right after you're right. Don't ask me if it's right. You find it. I'll be rude. I just want you to do that. Okay. Okay, that's a good way to do that one. That's fine. So let's see, you're doing. Okay. That will work. That will definitely work. That's okay. Just make sure you got your arithmetic under control when you do that. Okay.
Are you right now?
What are you multiplying that by? Good. So let's see, you're getting 15x plus 3y equals 21.
I hate when my brain does that.
Yeah. Use your calculator. Help you double check stuff. I would probably, the simplest way on this one is if that's a 3y, you'd like that to be 3. Let's start it that way. Multiply the first equation by that. Okay. It's easier to do it that way. If you look at that being the -3, it would be nice if that was a 3, right? So that's what I see. That's -3. I want that to be 3. So you can multiply both sides of the first equation by 3, then add it to the second. And once you get that down, I think you'll be okay.
Oh, I mean, why?
Multiply by 3. What are you guys getting for x, most of you? How many people are getting 2 for x on the first one? Okay, yeah, 2, x is 2 on the first one.
Is
Y is -3, I think. Let's pick an equation. Did you get 2? Oh, you got an arithmetic mistake somewhere.
Yeah, I just said, that's 17.
Okay. Yeah, 15 wants to do 17. Right? -3, you got a fraction on that, that's okay?
Yeah, so it's 8/17.
Okay.
That's
All right.
which is
I think you get a fraction on it. Yeah, okay. That's what I'm saying.
dumb. I don't know why.
Yeah, okay, just add it together, so just write the second equation down as it is. Okay, you get a half on one of those.
13 and 21.
Okay, yeah, that's good. You got 2, that looks good. You got -3? Yeah, you're good. Okay, you're good. So the first one is 2, negative 3. We'll kind of look at that. The second one was, what did you guys get on the second one? X was a half?
Y was negative 1.
Y was negative 1. 1/2 negative 1? Is that what I thought you were getting on the second one? Okay, all right. Okay, so let's see. If you're not getting this, this is kind of what you need to do. Now, not everybody's going to do these problems the same way I'm going to do them. To me, the simplest way to do problem number 1 is just to multiply the top equation by 3 so the y's eliminate. Okay, some of you multiplied by 2 and negative 5 or something. It still works. So the top equation would be now 15x plus 3y equals 21. Bottom equation's 2x minus 3y equals 13. Now that cancels. You get 17x equals, and what is that, 34 is what you would have got. Then if you divide by 17, and do that on the calculator if you need to, you get x equals 2. Okay, so that's the way I think most of you did it. That's the way I would do that. Okay, now if you want to find y, which equation's easier to work with, the top or bottom? I'd go the top because it just has y in it, okay? Keep things simple. I mean, it doesn't matter, but that's just, it's good to look for stuff like that. So I've got like 5x plus y equals 7. Now I just plug the 2 in for x, so I have 5 times 2 plus y is 7. 10 plus y is 7. Subtract 10 from both sides. And then I got it. Okay, so there's your answer like that, 2, negative 3. All right, is everybody okay? I had to help some of you a little bit with starting the problem. Once you figure out how to do that, that's not too hard to do. Okay, now if I was looking at the second one, I would probably go with x, because if that's 8, what would you like then? Negative 8. So the easiest way to do this problem is just multiply the second equation by negative 2. Did anybody make both of those become 6? 6 and negative 6? Okay, you can still do it that way, and it'll work. I usually try to find the easiest way I can do that, so I'm just going to do it this way and multiply both sides in this by negative 2. And you're always going to know if this is working. So top equation, I'm going to leave it alone. Second equation would be negative 8x minus 4y equals 0. Okay, you do it this way, that cancels. That's negative 1y equals 1. Is what you would get if you do it that way. Now divide by negative 1. So therefore you get y is negative 1. Okay, and that's what you got, wasn't it? Okay. I think most of you got like a half on x. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a half.
Now you did it different. You did 2 equations, right? So you started by getting x equals a half. Right? Yeah, that's what would happen if you did it the way you did. I think you did it that way too. So did you get a half? You may have had a sign. I think you had a sign or something wrong in there.
Yeah, I think I didn't multiply the 0.
Oh, okay. Okay. There you go. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take either equation. I'm going to take the second one. All that matters is you get the right answer. So either equation works. I'm going to plug in y. So I get 4x plus 2 times negative 1 equals 0. So that's 4x minus 2 equals 0. Then you can add 2 to both sides. You can do that in your head if you want to. So that's 4x equals 2. Divide by 4, and then reduce that fraction. So 2/4 becomes 1/2. Okay, so you end up getting x is equal to 1/2. So that would be your answer to your problem. Okay? How many people got both of those right? Okay, good. Okay. And you see, if you didn't do it the way I did, that's okay. As long as you got the right answer and know how to do it, that's what matters. Okay, there's more than one way to do that. Good. Okay. What we're going to use this for some is we're going to look at, now in this 4.1, I'm going to do, what I'm going to do today, what I decided to do because I need to do 4.2, you guys need, I'm going to pause this one right here, and then in next Thursday's class, I'm going to go through these